Good afternoon, everybody. This is one of the most incredible interviews I have ever done. We are sitting here today with the prophetess, Julie Green. If you've been paying attention to some of her prophecies, they are mind-blowing. They are accurate. They are relative to present day right now. And we're going to discuss some of the prophecies that she's been talking about. Absolute pleasure. Julie and I met 2 weeks ago in Florida. And so we decided to put this interview together today. So we're going to talk about prophecy and we're going to talk about timing. And everybody, Julie Green, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Bo, for having me on. It is such an honor and a privilege to be on your show. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Julie. So I put together a presentation, many of your prophecies. So this weekend we put together a slide presentation of your prophecies. I wanted to discuss many things that are going on right now because basically you've been stating things and then they've been happening days later. Like, this is incredible because, you know, prophecy is sometimes it's Daniel spoke of a prophecy that took 2,500 years to fulfill, and your prophecies are coming true right now. It's really incredible. You've been stating things a few days ago, a few weeks ago, but even a few months ago, and we're actually seeing them all be fulfilled, or many of them being fulfilled right now, which we're going to talk about, things that have been fulfilled and things that are about to be or going to be fulfilled, because the ones that are going to be fulfilled, those are the biggies, because those are the ones that are going to completely change the landscape of the world that we live in, because as we all know, we are heading into something new. And
the year of the new.
Yeah, the year of the new. We're totally heading into that. And it's all going to be tied in with prophecy and timing and history and life. You know, it's been, Ecclesiastes states, that which has been will be again. There is nothing new under the sun. So events of old are going to be soon enough events of new. It's really incredible. This is what's happening. So we're going to talk about historic timelines and how they relate to present day, how events of old relate to present day. It's really incredible. So Julie, I'm just excited to speak with you. Those who are new to us, I do like to offer a presentation. I'm going to include a link. So on page 2 of my presentation, those who are new here, take your camera, point it at that scanner and scan this, and you'll be able to download the entire presentation. And trust me, you're going to want this presentation based on what we're soon to talk about here. It's really exciting. So on page 1 of the presentation, I know that Julie is in full agreement with what we've been talking about here, but 2022, this year, is expected to be the great, you know, the great exposure, the great removal, the great fall, the great judgment, the great overturning, the great death, the great exodus, the great birth or rebirth, and the great wealth transfer. And ultimately, this is like the days of Elijah that we're living in. So it's truly exciting where we're at in our world right now. So make sure you download this PDF presentation. Again, there's your scanner code on page 2. Download the PDF presentation. And so those of you who have been listening to Julie know that Julie has been talking very clearly, and the prophecies that Julie's been receiving are actual names of very high up and important people. So we've done something very special. We've taken the name, we put a face to it. So now we're going to go through some faces and some prophecies, because this really makes it powerful. These are the people that we see, we've been watching and seeing in the news, on TV for a long time. And now we get to see what God's been saying is about to happen to them. And so there's actually, I think there's 1, 2, I think we have 4 or 5 pages, but every person here on these pages, read the top, treason will be written on them for all eternity.
Yep.
It's incredible. So Julie, take us a little bit through, you know, what you're feeling. I'll scroll to some of the pages. Anything that pops out on some of these individuals, you know, say right now on the 3rd page here, anything that pops out?
Sure. I mean, about any of these right now, Nancy Pelosi, you're going to start seeing her here shortly. about, just like what you have on this presentation, that what she did with January 6th, those videos are about to be exposed, and the instructions that she gave people, how she did it, what she did, and who gave her the instructions as well. And she will go down. And the Lord's also been talking about her. Not only is she going to go down for what she did for January 6th, but he's also has video and audio evidence of what she has done with both of the impeachments against Donald Trump, and of course, January 6th. So she is in major, major hot water, but also one of the things that the Lord has just given me, I think I've given out, if not, I'm giving it away. She will not last to the 2020 midterm elections. She will pass away before that. So the Lord is really, really, really getting down on these people and what they've done. And he keeps talking about the angel of death. And the reason why I keep talking about the angel of death is because this is the year of vengeance. This is the year of judgment. This is the year of the great Exodus. And what happened in the first Exodus was Pharaoh and all of his men came down. They actually They fell. They died because they kept pursuing God's people. And that's exactly what these people were doing. They were given warnings. They were given things. And God is saying, hey, stop doing this, turn from your wicked ways, and they refuse to. Adam Schiff is the same thing. He is going to get in trouble. God is saying he's going to be removed. He's going to have to apologize to Trump first, but he's going to be removed for what he has done, because he also was part of that whole impeachment deal with Trump. And he lied, schemed, and cheated. And same thing with Mitch McConnell. He is in with China. So you're going to start seeing more of that come out with money trails and stuff. And now he is embedded with China. Mitt Romney is the same way. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Prince Charles, the Lord just gave me that one today about Big Ben, and Big Ben coming down. And Prince Charles, that is assigned to him, or it was one yesterday. That was assigned to him, saying he's going to come down because what he is doing, he's part of the globalists, and he wants that crown. He wants that power. The elitists want him to have that power. He wants it. He's done waiting. They are done waiting, because in order for them to take the one world government, they need everybody in line. Well, Prince Charles in line, but the Queen is not in line with the elitists exactly what he is. She's not a yes person like he is. So from what the Lord was showing me, that he will actually have his mother murdered, and because he will try to get that crown faster. Liz Cheney, obviously she's another wolf in sheep's clothing. We've been starting to see that from her in the last couple of years, but now there's going to be more and more evidence coming out about her and what she has done to cause and help with January 6th, to help with the impeachments, to help with all the things that were going on, and lie to the American public. And you can see that people have already started to discredit her, but more and more is going to come out about her. And yes, she will also have the handwriting on her of treason for all eternity. All of them will.
You know, and what I found interesting, because basically your prophecy states that the queen's going to die. So, and then he's going to be involved in the murder of it. So this is, again, what is prophecies, right? It's events that are yet to be. It's really incredible. So, you know, we're knowing things in advance.
God gives us the news before the news.
News before the news. So that is so true. There's other individuals, and every one of these, treason. This is what is going to be the event, you know, for them, you know, for all eternity. Address the Clintons. What's your take on the Clintons?
Well, right now, as you can see, Hillary is falling. The Lord has been giving me prophecies about Hillary Clinton for the last 6 months for sure. I have about 7 or 8 of these prophecies that I will be giving out in an actual video that line up exactly what's happening to her right now, and how if the Clinton Foundation was involved, he's going to open the books to the Clinton Foundation. So everything that they siphoned their money through, everything they did with it, how they padded their own pockets, how they used it for their agenda and so on, God said he's opening the books to the Clinton Foundation, and he's literally going to destroy him through that as well. And as we can see, the Clinton Foundation funded the whole Russia hoax now with Trump. As you can see, it's blasted all over social media, all over the news right now, which God said everything that she did was going to be shown. And that's exactly what's happening right now. They are seeing with the Durham report that she was a part of that Russian hoax, that she actually hired people. And not only did God say that she hired people, but she actually killed people. And she was doing this. She was storming around, ranting and raving until she got what she wanted. And now the elitists are letting her fall along with Bill, because they're no longer, you can say, useful to them anymore, because American people don't like them anymore. And because they see her as a failure, because with the 2016, with the 2020, everything that she's done, including helping with the impeachments and stuff, is just not enough. What she's done is not enough. But they don't realize it wasn't her that necessarily failed. It was the fact that they're against God. And God is the one who was never going to let any of these plans take place. But both Hillary and Bill, she'll be seen as a witch. She has blood on her hands. She'll be known as that, and God will reveal that more about her. More details are going to come out about who she really is. And she actually is a part of a witch, whatever you want to call them, and they're out of California or something. But anyway, Bill, of course, his life is so full with perversion and disgust and nasty stuff, but he will be shown even for more of what he did, and she was really the one in control of him. But again, they're both in massive trouble, and all that's coming out, and the reason why God's saying this is coming out is because their hedge of protection that the elitists had over them is now gone, and that's why you're seeing all this evidence come to light when it didn't come to light before.
Well, and a couple of things to add to that, right? So the Clement Prophecy, right? I'm sure you've heard that. His words particularly they will try to put a witch in the White House.
Oh, I have heard people say something like that.
So yeah. I've heard that actual prophecy. So Clement, this is like 8 years ago, he actually stated they will try to put a witch in the White House, but nay. So
she is the Jezebel.
Right. So as we go through some of these slides here, we're putting the faces to the names that you got through prophecy. Numerous times through these slides, you're going to see that it's going to state the angel of death will strike you. Now, that's an interesting phrase because God speaks with precision or precisely. And so when he states that, the first thing that comes to my mind, when did the angel of death strike? That was after Passover. That was the last day of Passover. So that potentially this year would be, I think, the 24th of April. So does it play out that way? Well, we're going to, all we just have to do is wait and find out to see. But it's really interesting that is using those words. The angel of death will strike you. Yes. Because remember, in the time, what is Passover? For those who don't know, there is to take a lamb, lamb's blood. They were to paint it on the doors. And wherever lamb's blood was painted over the doors, the angel would pass over that family, that home. And that night, all the firstborn, where there's no blood on the doors, the firstborn of the entire family would die, including the animals. So that was the angel of death's strike as Passover ended. And then that was the death of Pharaoh's son that night. And then then Pharaoh released Israel the next morning. So it's really interesting that those choice of words I find really fascinating, just because God is a God of precision.
Yeah, and God gave this prophecy about 10 to 12 years ago where he said there was going to be another Exodus. And he said, what once was will be again, but to a greater degree. And as we were talking before the show, I did not know that scripture in the Bible per se. But when he gave me that, and I was just like, well, what does that mean, Lord? He said, I had an Exodus once, but I'm doing a greater Exodus.
Yeah.
Because this greater Exodus is going to free all the nations, all the world,
global.
Not just one. Yeah. It's global.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so powerful because basically that was an exit, but that was a Red Sea moment. That was of the Red Sea. And it was an area. This is going to be a global event that's going to go down because what's happened, the population now is, you got billions of people. And so now it's going to be a global exodus. So it's really fascinating. Next page here. Trudeau, go hit on Bill Gates, a couple of the key figures right now, him and Soros, right? How did they do all this, right? So all these people you're seeing, this is very important to understand. So viewers need to understand this. They did all of what they've done through a fake monetary system. They created the US dollar, but then Nixon in 71 of August detached the gold connection to the dollar. So there's no connection between the dollar and gold, zero. It's only backed by faith and confidence. That is the only thing that supports the value of the US dollar, and then the military, obviously. And then beyond that is the people that run the system. Well, these people are going to have a heck of a little problem coming up here based on your prophecies. And so if the people fall, so will their money, and so will Babylon, right? And so we will talk about all of these things, but Gates and Soros are the two chief culprits, including, Facebook and Twitter too. But these are some of the very wealthy people of the world, and they've been running it, controlling it with money. And then now we're starting to see people rebel. And we're starting to see really people stand up, and you see what's going on in Canada right now. It's really fascinating. So give me maybe on those three people there, what are your take?
Okay, so well, let's see here. Bill Gates and George Soros are one of the puppet masters. So they are part of the puppet masters. Everybody's asking, who are the puppet masters? Well, they are. They are the elitists. They are the 1%ers, the ones that have most of the money in the world. Because out of the like $4 quadrillion, half of the economies of the world's economy, like 300 or less people have all that money, and these two are part of that. And they're the ones who are pulling the strings to all these people, paying for all these people to do certain things. And I know you know this because we talked about this in Florida. God is bringing us back to the gold standard. Once he does this complete reset of the new, which is God's reset, not theirs, because they wanted a great reset, which ain't going to happen. But God's reset, he's bringing us back to the gold standard. He's bringing all these people down. Remember, when he said the wealth of sinners laid up for the just, he means he is going to blow all of the finances out of their hands. There will be nothing left. And then they will be judged, and the angel of death will come on them. So what he's saying, just like what happened with Pharaoh, again, what happened with Pharaoh is happening with them. He lost his empire, he lost the finances, and then he lost his life. And that's what's happening to them, because God wants them to feel that judgment and know that judgment. He wants them to know that he is the one who said that vengeance is mine. And he also said in his word in Haggai that the gold and the silver are all his. Everything is his, and he's giving it over to us because we are his children, we are his body. And Justin Trudeau is just one of the puppet masters, best little puppets. And he is actually going to be, I don't know if I gave this prophecy yet or I'm going to be giving it out, but he is actually going to be going on a hiatus. They're going to hide him a way to try to protect him, but he is absolutely going to fall. He's going to lose his position as prime minister or president of the country. He is going to go down. So is everybody in the government with him. And God is freeing Canada. And he's even talking about the convoy, which I know I haven't gotten this one yet, but the convoy that's going on in Canada, what's going on in Australia, and what's going on in France and all these other countries. This is a righteous rebellion. That is what I'm talking about tomorrow on my live show. And this is the beginning of this. You're going to start seeing all this thing heighten up. And the reason why Justin is trying to shut down or lock down Canada is because they are afraid of this. And the reason why they're afraid of it is because Pharaoh was the same way. They know that there's more in number of us than there is of them. And once we realize it, their power over us is gone. So we're not listening to them. We're not listening to their narrative. So Justin Trudeau will have major exposures. He will fall, and the angel of death will come. Yeah.
I just can't believe this. What is going on there? This is incredible. These truckers, they've come to realize it's a very smart move, right? Because every time people go in somewhere, all they do is they bring the police and they push everybody aside, right? So they brought in these massive trucks. They blocked all the capital, so Washington is the US capital, but Ottawa is Canada's capital. So they literally blocked off a whole city. And then the best part was they called the tow truck companies and they said, sorry, we got COVID. Like, you got to admit, this is funny.
Somebody sent me that article today, and I was laughing so much. Prophecy fulfilled, they said, and I heard that, and I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, it's incredible. Great. It's fun. It's really fun because when you listen to the prophets, God does nothing. This is so important. God does nothing before first speaking through his servants, the prophets. And then the other part is, this is another part you must overlay, is that the truth is in that of two or more witnesses. So if a prophet is speaking, it's really important to make sure that there's other prophets that can witness what that one prophet is saying. And so what you're saying, it rhymes with Robin Bullock, Kent Christmas. So all of it's overlaid together. So that's how you know that it's the truth, because the sheep will know my word, right? And so we're listening to the word of God. So it's really incredible how God is playing all this together. So, let's continue on here. Let's head over to the next slide. Who stands out here? We got, Gavin Newsom. I'm from California. And then do the ones on the East Coast, Kathy, and then Eric Adams. What's your take there? Go ahead.
I will tell you, all of them right now will be removed. All of them are going to go down again for treason, will be written on them for all eternity because of what they did with back in November of 2020. all of them will have audio and video evidence of what they have done, and they will all fall. And one of the things that the Lord just said in the prophetic word that he gave me about Newsom is a money trail, what he had with Nancy Pelosi, how he's conjoined with Kamala Harris, and that your state was actually red and not blue. So that's all going to be found out. New York, God is doing a cleansing in New York. And the reason why he's doing that is because that is exactly where our country was dedicated to God. With George Washington, when he was inaugurated, he walked down to that cathedral, to that church, and for 4 hours they prayed and they dedicated this country to God, and God has not forgotten that. He also called Kathy a Jezebel, so she will fall, and so will the mayor of New York City, because it's something that he is also one of them. He's just another yes man. He's just another pawn in all this whole entire thing, and he will fall. Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger are in massive trouble because Brad Raffensperger was caught red-handed with that phone call with Trump, but also with what happened with November of 2020. Stacey Abrams was part of it. They're all three a part of it, and they're also connected to China. So they have a lot to contest for. They have a lot to answer for to the American people, and the American people are going to start screaming what's going on in that state, in those states, to bring them down. And God is going to bring them down, but also he's going to rectify what was stolen. He's going to give back what was stolen.
Well, and again, that's back to the word of precision, right? Rectify. What that means is to go back and redo. It's a fantastic word, because that's actually, I believe that was one of the words that was used when you were speaking of Trump, because the rectify means there is a Supreme Court ruling of fraud vitiates everything. That basically means that when there was fraud, anything that was signed so when the fraud occurred, everything forward is literally removed or rectified, because it goes back to that point where the fraud occurred, and then you start over again. So
it's null and void.
Null and void, exactly, and then you start over again. So it's kind of like you start on a road trip, you mess up, you go back to the beginning again, and you go now in the other direction. And that takes us to what we talked about, or I've talked about in the past, about the covenant that God has with the United States. That's just so incredible, because God has a covenant with Israel. God chose Israel, and then the United States left the other land. They came on the Mayflower 400 years ago. Exodus, sound familiar, right? So we came here 400 years ago. When we arrived, we put together a covenant with God when we founded the United States. So we're founded under God. And so we chose God. A covenant is something that you're making with the Creator. I just find it fascinating, because they know that the United States, has a covenant with God.
Yes.
And they're actually trying to come in and take a country that was founded under God. And the point being is, God's going to defend it.
Yes.
And they actually are going against God's got a covenant with the United States, and they're going down to try to take down the United States. And the prophecy, through several prophets, has been very clear that United States will stand as a beacon of light during end times. The United States will stand as a beacon of light for all the world to see. So, and we are the superpower, and then the United States will be the first to rise up what's about to happen here, and then we're going to protect. The military is going to ultimately come in and protect other countries, and it's going to expand outwards. We're definitely going to go and protect Israel, because God has a covenant with Israel as well too. Yes. So it's really interesting how all of this is playing out.
I will tell you that the United States of America and Israel has been a thorn in the one world government's side, because those are the two nations that they had to take over, which they did, with those things. I don't know if I want to say that word, and to get rid of those people in power and put their people in power, so then they can have the total control. So the last two countries was us and Israel. And when they did that, when they removed those people the way they wanted it, that's how they thought this year they were going to have their total control, which they're not. They're actually going to lose it all.
Right. And you have to look at the order, right? The cherry on top is Israel. Okay, that is the cherry on top. It's been going on for thousands of years. That is the cherry on top. But you can't go get the cherry until you get the United States. And that's how it happened here, right? First, they
Exactly.
took the United States.
Mhm.
The moment they had it, then they went for Israel. Go back and check what happened and play it out exactly that way.
Yes.
So when the United States comes back to power again, Israel will then be second. Just the same pattern again. It's the brother-sister relationship. So the superpower there is to protect Israel. As exciting as all of this is, and
Mhm.
all these faces and all this prophetic word about people going to fall, remember, you can't stop revelation.
Mm-mm.
Okay, we're still heading forward. We're heading into a royal wedding. There's much more to come. So all these people that are going to fall, this doesn't stop it. This is really important to understand. This doesn't stop revelation. This only puts a window of time that God's giving the church to prepare.
It's a grace period.
Grace
Yep.
period. The next slide here on 7, pick and choose, but definitely address Obama and Michelle, because those are key figures in this end time that we've talked about. So pick and choose, because there's a whole bunch of good people to talk about right there.
Yeah, that's really hard for me because the first one sticks out to me is Biden, because God said he is actually not alive anymore. He is, there is somebody else playing his part. There's going to be some major gaps. He's going to tell who he really is. He's also going to tell that Biden is, or Obama is talking to him in his ear. So he's going to have a lot of gaps. You can see the person that's playing him. So you're going to see him fall in a major way and Obama try to take back over. And that's another prophecy that I'm having this week. So Barack Obama and Michelle, so they are going to protect him no matter what. And we have to realize that, because he is the Antichrist, or, I mean, that's how I felt for many, many years. God put in my spirit when I saw him walk on that stage to accept his, presidency at that time in 2008. I didn't really know who he was before. I didn't like him. I didn't like what he was saying, because I could tell he was a liar, and I didn't like how smug he was. But what they're going to try to do is protect him. So they might keep him and put him aside. They are going to have to take him away in order to protect what they have left, because they've lost pretty much everybody else, because they are going to literally be cut down at the knee. And so they're going to want to save him. Michelle, they're not going to save. They don't care. They don't need to save her. But she, in one of the prophecies that I've heard recently, is she knows who he really is. She cannot stand him. Their marriage was never based upon love. They were put together for this time to make it look good on camera, that, how they wanted the puppet masters, that wanted him to be perceived. So Obama is not going to die with the angel of death. He will be put aside. He'll be protected, because, again, they will rise him up again when it's time. It's not time right now, because the reason why it's not time right now, we are the body. We are holding back, keeping the Antichrist, because we have the Holy Spirit in us. So the Antichrist cannot rise up in this time, because the body of Christ is still here. They tried it. It didn't work. Chief Justice Roberts, he is either the one of the things that the Lord just said. He either has to step down on his own, or he will be removed. God is going to show exactly how he was a part of Epstein Island, how he protected people who were part of Epstein Island, how he protected people in the government for all these different things, how he held his power and blackmailed all the other justices to rule exactly how he wanted it to rule. And he was, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the elitists have things on him, and that's the reason why they can easily push his strings, or pull his strings and tell him exactly what to do, because he's afraid of what's going to come to him. And he knows that he is going to be tried. He knows he's in trouble. He's like that fly in a fly trap. He's caught. He's going to even try to take his own life if he hasn't already. It's not going to work, because he's going to be exposed in front of the whole world to see, and then he'll be tried for treason. So he is another major player. Kamala, she knows exactly that Biden is gone. She has seen it. She's upset because she feels like she has been betrayed. She sold her soul, sold her body for the presidency, and now she's so close to it, she's never going to have it, and she knows that, because they said that they disapprove of her. The American people in the world did not accept her in that big steal that they did, and so they have to get rid of her in a way. So she feels betrayed. She doesn't like the position that she's in. She absolutely can't stand the fact that there's an actor sitting in her seat that she thinks she was supposed to get, because if a president dies, then she should automatically have gotten it, and she didn't. So she's extremely angry. You can see her anger now on TV, because one of the things the Lord said, she's not going to be able to keep her composure. And I think they were at a funeral one time. Somebody sent me something and told me that Alpha was her that switched the seat, Jill that switched the seat, somebody switched the seat. She couldn't even stand. They couldn't even sit next to each other. She couldn't even stand being that close to him. And as you can see, she's not that close to him that often anymore. So that is really, 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 there's a lot of friction there, and you're going to see more of that. And of course, you're going to see Chuck Schumer, and you're going to see him exposed. He is not in charge of the Senate. You'll see him being removed from there. So there, I mean, I could sit there and spend an hour just talking about each one of these 6 people.
No, I know this was like a good slide. That's why I put this one near the bottom, because this is the 5th of the 5 slides. It's like, this is the very powerful one. I want to touch base on a couple of things. First off, the definition of treason. Okay, that's a military invoked power. From what I gather, it's a death by firing squad or hanging. Yes. Really important to understand. Okay, so it's big. Okay, yes. And then number 2 is on my website. I've always included this one link. And I include it, if you look at his face, there right below his face, there's a link you can click. But that takes you to a video of a 15-year-old Jewish boy who died. And actually God showed him the future. And he says that Obama will start World War III with Israel. And it lines up with your words. So I took because I've known this for a long time. I've felt this in my heart as well, too, that is the truth. So I fully agree with what your statement was. And then in the word, you actually, in your prophetic word, you fully confirmed what you've been saying, because I put it in red. Your puppet masters will try to protect you, but you will see who gets the last laugh. That doesn't mean last laugh this year. It means the last laugh.
Yep, the last laugh.
The last laugh.
So when you're talking about treason, these are the days of Haman. How did Haman die? He died by the own gallows that he built. So you can see that this is what's going to happen to them. They wanted death for the world, but they're actually the ones that are going to get the death. And yes, God will have the last laugh with Obama, but yes, it won't be right now.
Yeah, and then you confirm the word too with Michelle. He says, Barak, they will protect him. You see what I'm saying? So in your prophecy for Michelle, it actually, that word came up again. So it's very clear every time, this comes up, it's so clear how this is lining up for end times. And I love that part. You will see who gets the last laugh, because it's like last of all the laughs. Next page is fun. This is like pages and pages and pages of the guys have been doing all this evil stuff, and then one page of like the rock stars, right? God's appointed, aside from the prophets, right? But this is great. So go ahead, and I think every one of these is so powerful. Go ahead, Julie.
Yes. So, okay. So Amy Coney Barrett, a lot of people have gotten upset with her because of what happened with the ruling with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court basically failing the American people with what happened in 2020. But you have to understand, first of all, they were blackmailed, and they were blackmailing her children, is what I understand what the Lord has been saying. So she could not rule the way she wanted to rule. God is going to vindicate her name. So people would think that she turned on Trump. She did not turn on Trump. But you have to understand, God did not want the Supreme Court to rule that way anyway. It's all in God's timing. He needed these things to happen. So he knew what was going to happen anyway.
So I want to interrupt just because you nailed it. It's all in God's timing. This is really important. So number 1 is, how does Amy tie in with prophecy? So those who have watched my prior videos and timeline calculations, something huge was supposed to happen on Rosh Hashanah of last year. Not this past, 2 years ago. Well, that was when Ginsburg died. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was on Rosh Hashanah. That's important. Because it's the start of God's new year. And then when Ginsburg died, the replacement was Amy Coney Barrett, right? Yes. And so it's one event that leads to another event, which leads to another event, right? But we're in the year of Jubilee, the 50th year, Leviticus, right? So the year of Jubilee is the year of the Lord's favor, and it's a 50-year cycle. It was December of 71 when they Roe v. Wade went into court. So this past December would be 50 years starting. So we're in the 50-year time window right now. So this 50-year window is where we're going to see what the God had in store for Amy, because now God's going to act. and after he acts, or that moment in time that we're expected to see, then we're going to see, what Amy was meant to do. Go ahead. That's my take on it.
So, and she is his Deborah. So she's going to be vindicated. So people don't get offended, angry, hate her. God is saying he's going to make her name right. And of course, she's still going to be on that court, and she's his Deborah. And Donald, we all know he's a rightful president. He is his son. He is that Cyrus. He is nowadays David. He has been set aside. And the reason why he was set aside is, one, he had to have the time of rest. He had that time of getting a close relationship with the Lord again. And God was really perfecting him in his faith. And also he was softening his heart. But really him and his family needed this time. But also one of the things that was so profound to me, I heard this I love Trump and I followed him for a long time. But one of the things I've heard back in 1980s, he had an interview with 2020. And one of the things that he said, I'm willing to risk it and lose it all in order to see who's on my side. And so, and another thing, and this goes along with Mike Pence, people think that he was traitor. I was woken up in the middle of the night between January 6th and January 7th when I had a horrible dream about what was to happen. I was seeing the color of the blue. I was seeing like a computer screen with a whole bunch of like Zoom calls. They were partying, having fun. And I knew in my heart what that meant. I woke up a few minutes later and I saw that they certified the election. And I was like, God, well, how can this be? How could Mike do that? How could Mike do that? And he said, can you trust me? And I said, well, yes. And he said, but will you? And I said, yes. And so what he's been showing me over the course of this last little over a year, you just say about how Donald even talks about him. Now, President Trump talks about Mike. He doesn't say about how much you hate him, how much he's a traitor, all these things. But he kept saying, Mike, do the right thing. Well, Mike also had to do the right thing. And that right thing was he had to let this happen. You have to understand, this was a massive undertaking for him to have his name smeared throughout the whole entire world, that he was a traitor, that he betrayed Trump, he betrayed the United States of America, he betrayed all of us. And then, of course, God said he had people that was infiltrated the enemy's camp. So once he did this, I know people could see he got this coin. I think it was from the Masons or whatever, a Mason coin. That was, he did the deed that they needed him to do, and he proved himself to them, but they don't realize he purposely had to do this to catch him in the act. So he's not a traitor. God is saying he's going to vindicate his name. God is saying everything is going to be clean. And the reason why you have to understand this, the Lord gave me this revelation back in 2015. When I put Trump and Pence's name, because I talk fast, but I put it together, trumpets, Trump and Pence, Trump Pence. Trump Pence sounds like trumpets. And the reason why God is saying we sound the trumpets, everything is going to be done. Trumpets are so profound in the word of God, and especially there's a Feast of Trumpets. But he put these two together for a reason. So if you are on that side of saying, well, I hate him, be careful. Because God is saying he's going to vindicate his name. He's going to show him. He put Trump and Pence together, and that trumpet is about to sound loud and clear, and it's about to be restored in this earth. So get excited about that.
And also just to touch base just on the words, your words, okay? Your words were retroactive restoration. Okay, that's what we talked about earlier, okay? So back to the beginning and a redo, okay? So that's what that means.
Yeah, and God is going to take away everything that enemy's done over the course. I'm not kidding you. Back to Nimrod, just getting rid of the whole Babylonian system, and he's making it into the system that he always intended for us to live on this earth. So he's retroactively restoring to us everything, and everything in this earth has been given over to the children of men, which is us. So we have to realize this is the best time to be alive on the face of this earth. We're going to be known in heaven that we were the church, that were part of this great Exodus, that we got to experience what no eye has ever seen and what no ear has ever heard, what God is going to do. So this is exciting. And with Madison Cawthorn, that prophecy was fulfilled almost right away with him. And God is saying, don't back down. to keep standing up against them. And now they're trying to discredit him. They're trying to get him removed off the ballot in 2020, I guess. Again, I didn't know any of this stuff until people sent this stuff to me. And what he's saying is all they have is words. Nothing will happen to him. But something that was really stuck out at me that was talking about him, that he was going to protect Madison Cawthorn, but he said, I'm going to restore all that has been stolen from you. And when I heard that, I just started like just welling up. And not only is he going to restore his name, but he's going to restore his legs. God is going to heal him, and he's going to get up. He's going to get up out of that wheelchair.
Well,
I don't think he knows this yet, but
we'll talk about Exodus. Talk
him.
about what happened when they crossed the Red Sea. What happened?
They were all healed, no feeble among them. And God said no feeble then and no feeble now. That's why I don't know if Madison knows this or not, but Madison, if you ever, anybody can get this to him, he is going to get up out of that wheelchair. He's going to be restored out of everything that's been stolen from him, and that including his life.
That's amazing. Thank you.
God is healing him.
Wow.
Yeah.
God is great.
And Oprah, God is saying he's giving her her final warning. She has very crucial information to give out. And if she doesn't give it to the right person, which she knows to give it to, then she will obviously be on the other side of this. So she has a choice right now which side to be on, and he's giving her her last warning. He's saying, turn from your wicked ways, because she did say so many times before, there's many ways to heaven. And he's saying, you know better than that. There's only one way to heaven. So he's really giving her time, but he was really sincere about her saying, turn back now, because that door for her is going to close.
Well, and that's a big video that went out there years ago, right? She's on stage and says, no, there's many ways to heaven. And one lady stood up, no, there's only one. And she, and Jesus is the way. And she, that was a viral video. So that was very powerful. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Arthur, that one gives me the tingles. I love, this is great. What an amazing, this is so powerful. Read this, go ahead.
He is God's nowadays Joseph. So what you see with him, he's been thrown in jail so many times. And the reason why Canada's done that is because they were afraid of him. He was bold. He didn't care. He stood up for God. He said, no, I'm going to praise and worship God. And they threw him in jail. Unrightfully, they threw him in jail. And God is saying, and not only, just like with Joseph, when I took him to the pit, to the palace one day, God is saying, I'm going to restore to you your name. Vengeance is mine. He is going to heal him, restore him, free him, and he is not going to be in jail ever again. And God said he is his nowadays Joseph, and he is going to rise up higher than he ever was before this whole thing. And I'm telling you, he's going to be big in Canada. And he's going to have such a blessed life after what he's been going through, because God is going to restore to him. He's going to make it just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, like none of this ever happened for him. For the testimony he's going to have, he's rising up above higher than he would have before if this didn't happen. So God is saying he's going to give back even more than was stolen from him. So I am so excited for him when I heard that. And he's such a precious, precious man. I love him dearly. And I was so happy to hear God speak about him.
Oh, and the last line, come on. Could you imagine God saying this to you? You know, hold on, the great I am is coming to deliver you.
Yes.
Is that powerful? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I don't know what to say except wow. God is amazing and awesome. So now let's talk about, this is really important, Days of Elijah 2022. You were going to go back in time next year, the year after. We're going to come back to realize that 2022 was the Days of Elijah. This is so powerful. I'm going to read Malachi 4, 5 through 6. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet. Okay, we've got some very powerful prophets, including you, Julie. Like, wow. Okay, when I first actually heard of you, Julie, I immediately, because I knew it was the truth. When you hear the truth, you know it. I immediately, and I think you've seen this, I immediately took, because I had a relatively large following, I immediately took your prophecy, put it into video format. I dropped videos and everything onto it, and I posted it on my channel, and it went pretty crazy. Because it was such a powerful word that you had, and I knew that it was the word of God. Everything, since last year, you've just been exploding in terms of your prophetic words and the people that follow you. So it's really exciting. But we are in the days of Elijah, the days of the prophets. So it's the spirit of Elijah. And so, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and the dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall. This is because you talk about love all the time. So here it is. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers. That means the Jubilee. He's bringing us all back together again. He's bringing back unity. Because what is God? He's love and he's judge. But he's bring us all back together in love. So that is, that's what the definition of the days of Elijah are. And it's so powerful. There's 3 prophets here. There's 2 video links our viewers can click. The video 1, video 2. Video 1 is the 3 prophets would be Kent Christmas, Robin Bullock, and Amanda Grace. But all 3 of them are confirming the words that they came early. Okay, so these what's happened now in the past year and a bit, okay, is it was a look for us to see behind the veil of what their great reset is all about. And it's not a great reset, it's globalism, and it's the one world agenda, right? So God allowed us to see, to expose what they're doing, and so we can see, because he wants to wake us up. And then God's going to come in with his moment in time. It's going to happen in a 24-hour window. Kent Christmas has stated that. Isaiah 61 states that precisely. It says, this is the year of the Lord's favor and the day of his vengeance. And then and then the video that you had a little while ago, I'm not sure, but if you remember the word you used, but I wrote it down here. And I, meaning God, am temporarily removing this satanic system from the world. And you can click video link 2, and that was your word, Julie, of what you stated. The point being is that the we're going to have a window here of about 3.5 years, based on my calculations, to prepare, because again, we're not stopping. God is not stopping revelation. Okay, it's been written. God's word does not come back void. And so we're still heading into end times. Next slide we go over here is the fall. So last year we saw him fall 3 times. That was foreshadowing what was about to happen to him. Okay. And then the next slide here is rather powerful. It's Daniel. This is the story of Daniel. I think I've gone through this in my prior presentations. I think we all know it pretty well, hopefully. But the story of Daniel is so powerful because he was going to be killed because Nebuchadnezzar had a dream and he didn't tell anybody what it was. But if the prophets or the soothsayers, no one could give Daniel, all of them would be killed. And instead, Daniel prayed. And that night, the revealer of all secrets, God, gave Daniel the revelation. He stepped forward, gave it to Nebuchadnezzar, and it was a 2,500 year prophecy of all the kingdoms that were yet to come. And now they've all come. The only part is the fall. And so now this is really cool because I got this yesterday or a couple days ago, and you in your prophetic word have been stating the fall of the Statue of Liberty. Okay. And so when I said this, you're like, wow, are you kidding me? But that relates to Daniel and the prophecy. So the prophecy of the Daniel statue falling is actually Daniel 2:34. This is the Statue of Liberty. This is about to happen to. It's going to fall. This will be the fall of Babylon. Remember, not the United States, not the people, their system of control. Babylon the Great has fallen. And so what is Daniel 2:34? As you looked, a stone was cut out by no human hand, meaning God's involved in this directly, and it struck the image at his feet and the iron and clay and broke it to pieces. And so there's your fall of Babylon. And all those people we talked about earlier, those characters all playing roles in higher pages that we described, they're all tied in with the system of Babylon. They all fall. Babylon falls. And what falls with Babylon? Babylon's money.
Yes.
The 50-year Jubilee. Okay. So important. And it all ties in with a great exodus. Because the 50-year Jubilee is the point in time where it's a return, it's a year of rest. So we're about to see incredible rest, but it's a double-edged sword or a coin that has 2 sides, right? When the glory arrives, but describe it, when the glory arrives, it's incredible for those who planted seeds, good
Yeah.
seeds, and it's horrible for those who planted evil seeds, because the glory is going to turn the tables on all these people and everything. So everything flips. So, we can scroll through all the prophecies of Daniel, but it's all there. But page 22 talks about what's coming. It's the overturning of the money
Yes.
tables.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they did it. They started in 71 August with Nixon. They detached it from gold. No correlation. Then they can print money to infinity. So they're creating money out of thin air to infinity,
Right.
buying and paying off everybody they wanted to pay off. Well, guess what they've done? They've created their empire. And there's a very few that have massive amounts that we talked about earlier, and now they've been buying everybody off. But basically, Isaiah 61, Jesus, when he went into the synagogue, he never finished reading the last line, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of his vengeance. He never read that, because it wasn't for that time.
Right.
It wasn't for that time. It's for now. So now we're at that point in time. Ken Crispin stated very clearly, it will happen in a 24-hour period. There's a link, you can click that.
The Lord
Timelines.
said to me, it's going to happen in one day, and one day is all I need.
You've stated that too, just I think
Yes.
three prophecies ago. One day is all he needs. And that was also what he said to the pastor, Arthur from Canada. One day is all I need.
One day is all I need, and one day is all it takes.
Yeah.
So one day is all I need, and one day is all it takes. Well, this is not going to take a whole bunch of time. That's exactly what happened with the children of Israel when they were in Exodus. It was one day. One day they were slaves, and the next day they were free.
And then that's why the Red Sea moment is so powerful, because in the morning, as Pharaoh's attacking, coming at them, by the time they crossed, the Red Sea was closed. Everybody, it was finished. They were done. There was just Pharaoh's finished. Israel's free, separated by the Red Sea. There's a reason it's called the Red Sea. Nothing's a coincidence.
Right.
It's the way it is. It's so incredible. The more you look into it, the more incredible things come to pass. May 26th, very powerful time point last year in the heavens, where God proclaims a new era, but it hadn't manifest yet. We're waiting for the manifest of the new era, and that comes in a moment in time. And so many that have seen our presentation here at Basie, we're now heading into May. May is supposed to be a very, very important time point, but we haven't hit February. So there's a couple key time points. We've got February 20th, supposed to be very, very powerful. March 22nd, very powerful. That takes us into Esther time point, Purim, which is March 17th. So Julie, go ahead and tell us about Esther. So give us a story about Esther, because I want to hear it. And so do all the viewers.
The best thing about Esther is, she was taken in to be another wife to the king. And she was taken aside for so long to, get her prepared to be a king's wife or to be the queen. But she was very timid. She was very afraid. And Mordecai, her uncle, kept telling her, you were here for such a time as this, so go and do it. But anyway, when she did it, and she had to get that boldness, because she knew what she overheard or knew what Haman was doing to her, because Mordecai heard what he was doing to their people, and she had to save God's people. She had to save the Jewish people, and she was the only one. So she had to get this boldness on the inside of her to say, hey, king, because Haman was his second in command, and the king at the time really liked Haman. But what happened with her, she actually did it. She was very, very smart, and she had and threw him a party and invited Haman and the king. And then she said, again, I'm going to have another party. And then she had another party for him. Anyway, she said, and they found out what Haman had done. And Haman, actually, he wanted to kill the Jews, and she was a Jew. But Haman, guess what? He actually was the one who fell by the gallows. He was killed and hung by his own gallows, that he was going to hang Mordecai first, because he hated Mordecai, because Mordecai wouldn't bow to Haman. So that's how powerful this is. And Esther was made, and this is the whole point of the story. And there's a whole story, and it's bigger when I'm telling you, but I'm trying to shorten it up. Esther was there for such a time as this. God's people right now, we are here for such a time as this. She was there to save her people, and we are here to save the nations and the people around the world. We're here to enlighten the people. We're here to give them the truth, because the truth sets people free. I love the story of Esther. I really do. I have studied that so many times. Esther was just a true woman of God. And I'm telling you, it's happening again. They wanted us hung. They wanted us to die. And actually, that's what's going to happen to them. So these are the days of Haman.
Right. That's saying for such a time as this is a story of Esther.
Yeah.
And God's used that many times. And it's truly awesome how all these time points are crunching together right now. So, we've got Purim, which is March, starts 16th, ends on the 17th. So March 16th, 17th. We'll see very, very possible, powerful time point. Then it's just a few days later. This is their time window, okay? They love 322 for some crazy reason, but those who've done the research as a skull and bones, 322, so that would be equate to March 22nd. My chart shows something big could happen at that time point. So we'll see. But again, this is their time point that they could be bringing something upon the earth. So we'll see what happens. But remember, Ephesians, right? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. A principality is a government.
Yes.
Of principalities against rulers of the darkness in high places. All the people we discuss, and you discuss all your prophetic words, but all those powerful people, those are your principalities, and they run your governments. That's what's been going on. So, the year of Jubilee started Rosh Hashanah, September 6th of 21. The year of Jubilee ends September 24th of this year, 2022. It's a whole year, a year of rest. And incredibly, this year would be 50 years from when we're in the 50-year mark for the Nixon moment of detaching gold from silver. So this is a 50-year mark as of August. It started. So now August to this August coming up, we're in the 50-year now. This is the year of Jubilee for the dollar. Okay, so God's going to act on the dollar, taking it down. And then secondly, we're in the year of Jubilee, the 50-year cycle for Roe v. Wade, abortion.
Wow.
So
and
this
I want to tell you something really quick. Jubilee is also if people don't know Jubilee, but God restores his people of the 50 years and what was stolen from them. And he removes and distinguishes all debt. So we have to realize that the year of Jubilee that we're in it, and it is not coincidence that he said he's going to give us back to the gold standard. It's not a coincidence that he said he's going to overturn Roe versus Wade, and it's all in the same year. And this is the year of Jubilee, and this is the year of 2022, and this is the year of the new. So this is all. I mean, what you were saying to me, I didn't even know some of this stuff, and it's like I'm just so like, wow, because I hear what he's saying in these prophecies, and then what you're showing me, which is actual history, and it's profound how it's all lining up together right now.
Yeah. So here's the abortion slide. So December 13th of when Roe v. Wade was first argued in the Supreme Court.
Wow.
And then this is your 50-year cycle here for August 15th of 71, right here with Nixon moment. So this, and then it's all, so this is like this year is so incredibly powerful for how everything's supposed to play out. It's, every time I look at the math, it just keeps blowing my mind, but you're exactly right. It's a year of restoration. It's a year of rest. It's when families come back together. It's Leviticus 25. It's a year of blessings. It actually says blessings for 3 years is what it states, Leviticus 25.
Yes.
Right, and that time lines in with the time cycles that we're looking at as well too. It's a release from bondage. Okay, so it's exactly what the Red Sea moment is. It's a release from bondage. And the Lord's Prayer, "Thy kingdom come, thy kingdom, thy will be done."
Heaven.
Right. So Thy kingdom come. What's coming? Thy kingdom. God's kingdom is coming to earth.
Yep.
So, but God's not going to come to an earth that's using a fake monetary system.
Right.
Okay, so he's going to come to an earth that's using his money. So he's preparing the building of his church. So we cannot build his church efficiently or effectively without means. Okay, so and the wealth, Proverbs 13:22, very specific. The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the righteous. Okay, so all these trillions of dollars are going to find their way for short-term into cryptos and gold and silver. Ultimately, gold and silver is the only true store of wealth, because it's God's money. The silver and the gold is mine, saith the Lord. Deuteronomy 28 is so powerful because we are supposed to be the lender to the nations.
Yeah,
they created fake money, right? And so they've turned us into borrowers.
Yes.
And not lenders. We're supposed to be on purpose. And so now we're were enslaved. But
Mhm.
and the greatest form of slavery is to be enslaved and not know you're enslaved. That's what they did, right?
Yeah.
They created mortgages with, which is a death grip by definition. But think of the power of that. We're supposed to be the lender to the nations. That's big.
Right.
Not lender to your neighbor, no, to the nations. So
That's
very,
right.
very powerful how, what that statement means. Timelines. So this, I think you're going to find very interesting. So when I was with you in Florida, I got a download. God said to me, look at childbirth. I'm like, okay. I've been talking a lot about what's called vortex math and how that ties in, and how the month November is very powerful. That's the starting the fall of CNN. You'll start, that's all that begin to happen there. Now we're in February. Look at the crazy that's going on in February. Okay, February is very powerful. And the last month is 9, which is the completionary number. What is it? 3, 6, 9 are not physical numbers, but govern the physical world at a quantum level. So now I want to explain page 35. God said, look at childbirth. I'm like, okay. So
Yep.
when would childbirth begin? So we're looking at the new year, right? So God's new year is September 6th, Rosh Hashanah. You do the math on it, you would come to May 5th through June 3rd. That's the 9th month. That's when the mother gives birth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the mother gives birth in the 9th month. Well, what's about to be birthed? A new era.
The rebirthing of a new
A
nation.
new nation, new everything,
New
new
everything.
everything, right?
The
But
year of the new.
the year of the new. And what I specifically got is a new era, because the new era in time, literally, this is going to be like, just a very, very powerful point in our world where we're
Yes.
birthing of a new era, but it's a new nation, just a new monetary system. Because when the monetary system falls, then everything gets built new governments, new schools, everything starts, it's thy kingdom come.
Yes.
So
Amen.
that's how all this is playing out. So this is, I think you're going to find very interesting, but I did the math here. So it takes Israel about, I think, 20 to 25 days to get to the Red Sea. That would put this in May 20th of this year. That will be when the Red Sea closes. So next slide over. This is very interesting because I don't know how this math works out unless it's by the hand of God, and it's obviously by the hand of God. From the time Israel was pronounced a state on May 14th of 1948, 888 months to the exact day is this May 14th.
Wow.
From the birth of Trump to May 14th of this May 14th is 911 months, 911 months. Wow. So very powerful, but the 888 is probably the most powerful number, because basically that in Greek represents Christ. There was 8 people on the ark, and then a new beginning. So May is supposed to mark a new beginning for our world. That's the best I can tell you. No one knows precise day, precise hour, but I'm telling you, May is going to be historic.
Huge.
Somewhere between 14th through the 21st here. Numerous reasons why. Even Exodus. Someone emailed me this. This is cool. Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you.
Yes.
Exodus 4 + 1 is 5, so it's 5:14, May 14th. The Lord will fight for you.
Exactly.
So, all I can say is glory days, not gloomy days.
Yes.
Our loving friend, Pastor Manuel Johnson. You
Love
gotta
him.
love him. You gotta love him. So, Julie, I think we went through a heck of a lot of information today. Give me some closing thoughts, closing words, closing prayer, any and all of those.
I just wanted to tell everybody that this is a great time to be alive. And I know that we've gone through some really dark times, but it's always the darkest before the dawning. And God has been giving us all these revelations. He's been putting all of us together for such a time as this. And what he's saying us today is right now that he is rebirthing a nation. He's wakening up the body of Christ. He wants us to fully awaken, to trust in him, to receive his glory, to be perfected in our faith, because he wants to do a new thing in us. He wants us to arise to a new level that we have never been in before. And he is going to make all things new. And he's going to retroactively restore everything that's been stolen to us. That means the years that, because he talks about that in Joel, everything that has been stolen from you mentally, physically, what's been stolen from you in your family, whatever, especially finances, anything that's been stolen, God is saying he is going to give it back. This is that year that the body's been waiting for. This is the year that everybody's been crying, God win, God win, God win. This is the win. And we get to be a part of that. And how awesome and how powerful it is to know that all of these prophecies are coming to pass so fast. And we're not only hearing them, but we're seeing them. God gives us the news before the news. Be encouraged today that the great I am is delivering us even greater than they did with the children of Israel in the book of Exodus. Get that on the inside of you. He keeps telling me that. Have everybody get that on the inside of them, that they know that they know that they know that they can trust God Almighty. And I want to pray, because you said you wanted me to pray for everybody. I want to pray.
You can just say your prayer, and also let them know where they can find you too. So just anybody's on my website, or my YouTube channel, they can find you as well too. So please do that. And also, if people want to send you something, do you have an address, or you can provide that as well too? So that will be great. Yeah. Because I have to say, Julie, you put so much passion and heart into everything you're doing and the time that you spend, because I know this stuff takes time to do. So I do want to encourage, all the viewers. This is just so important, sow seed for what Julie's doing. Send her a blessing. She's so worth it. I know I personally have, and I will continue to do so. Julie is just a blessed soul, and just sow seed into her ministry. Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, so you can find me. You can write me at Julie Green Ministries, P.O. Box 1252, Bettendorf, Iowa 52722. You can also email us at jgm4prayers@gmail.com. And at the beginning of March, we're going to do our website. You'll have all the prophecies on it, all the videos on it, anything that you need to get a hold of our ministry. It's going to be jgminternational.org. It will go live at the beginning of March. So the first weekend in March, it will go live. So you can find me there. I also have, of course, YouTube channel, Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram, and locals that you guys can find me to watch these prophecies. God does give prophecies almost every single day. So you can be looking forward to that. I give prophecies along with encouragement, because that's what God has me here for. Somebody asked me, well, how do you get these prophetic words? All I ask the Lord is, what do your people have to hear for this very day and this very hour? This is what he wants you to hear. So that's it.
Julie, we love you. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God is amazing. He does nothing before first speaking through his servants, the prophets. And Julie, thank you. God bless you. God bless your family. And thank you for taking the time to be here with all of us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. And it's been a very much a blessing for me, as it is, I'm sure, other people, to hear what you have put on together that goes along with all these prophecies, and how awesome of a time that we're living in right now. It's so exciting. Thank you again.
For such a time.
Yes.